Are you obsessively watching videos on YouTube over and over, talking about life in another country, selling your home, picking up sticks, living in a van, making a homestead in a rural countryside somewhere? Me too. Over and over and over again. For the last, I was going to say 5, but it's 10 really, 10 years, I have been different versions of depressed. I started my recovery journey. That means putting down drugs and alcohol, looking at my behaviors, my defects, what isn't working for me in my life, mistakes I've made in the past. And it has been a slow, not necessarily comfortable journey. But through that, there have definitely been improvements. However, I have had my own company totally by mistake for the last 7 years, and it has evolved, but I've never run it well, which means that I have never really had a stable income. Now, I know that comes with owning a business, but I haven't been able to figure out the secret sauce of being able to save money, save enough money for tax. And it's this constant fear of not having enough, because most of the times I don't have enough. And when I do have enough, there's so many things that I've been waiting to buy, not cars and upgrades and tech and anything like that, just stuff that I have needed that I haven't been able to afford, that when that money does come in, it goes on stuff like that, and also back payments for tax and other shit that I haven't paid for in the past. So I have not been able to sustain myself, which has been a large part of not being happy for the last 5 years. And I've been trying to figure out how I can fix it. So I am in another 12-step program which helps business owners be solvent and not use money to change the way they feel, because I definitely use money and food, i.e. buying food, to change the way I feel, and it's usually expensive cake and coffee and stuff like that. And I've managed to stop doing that, but I'm still in the same situation. And the reason why I explain all that is just giving you a bit of background as to how I find myself here. I have been, like most of the British population, obsessing over a place in the sun and living abroad. And I have taken the leap on a few occasions, but I've always come back to London. So I used to live in Australia, which was amazing, but that's where my drug addiction really went mental. I've lived in Spain for a bit, but then I found my partner had cheated on me, and so I confronted him and he chucked me out of the house at 10 o'clock at night in the middle of nowhere. So came back home with my tail between my legs. And then I've lived a few other places, but I've always come back to the UK because I have a home here, and it's kind of been a false safety net, if you like. I mean, it's easy to find, well, it was easy to find a job in the UK. I had my home and I had my friends. So it was familiarity and somewhere that I could come back, lick my wounds, and then start again. But for the last 10 years, which is how long I've been back here continuously, I have been obsessing over selling my place and moving abroad. And the reason why I haven't done that is because I always said to myself that I would never sell this property because it's in a really good place in London. I've always been able to rent it out before. I wanted to release equity and do all the smart, sensible financial stuff. However, because of my business and not being able to sustain myself, my credit is bad. I can't get a mortgage. I can't even release equity from this property. And so I've been kind of stuck waiting to fix that situation, not wanting to let go of this property because I feel like I don't have a pension fund other than state pension, which is another thing I need to fix. But currently at 46, I don't have another pension. So this was kind of my pension, but a property isn't an asset if you're living in it. And it's not the mortgage that's killing me, because the mortgage, I've only got like 2,500 left to pay. Even without a mortgage and without rent, and by the way, yes, they are usually the most expensive part of your outgoings, but even without all that, I can't afford the other stuff. I can't afford the council tax. I can't afford the service charge. I can't afford to run my vehicle in London, which costs about £1,000. And it's just no offense, Van, I love you, a Nissan NV200 from like 2014. Like, it's not flashy, and on the outside it looks like it's falling apart, but it's got a solid Japanese engine. I love that van. But that's really expensive for a not that very, don't tell the van, not very nice looking vehicle that's also not very comfortable either. You get my message. So mortgage and rent aside, it's all the other stuff that comes with living in London that is expensive. Obviously, it's one of the best cities in the world, and there's so much to do here, and it's not surprising that it's expensive. But for me in my life now, I don't really avail of the stuff that London has to offer. So I'm not into museums. All my friends are kind of settling down, so we hardly see each other that much. What I'm trying to say is I would be happy somewhere else. I've done London, so I'm not trying to put anyone off living in London. It's a great city and I love coming back here to visit. But living here, I feel like all this wonderful stuff is just passing me by and I don't value it anymore because I'm kind of over it. But my main problem has been not wanting to sell this flat because I'm worried that it's the wrong decision. When I was using, I sold a property that I had when my father passed away in another country, and instead of investing it in Sydney, where I was going to buy a flat there, I spent it all on drugs. That's over £100,000. And I don't want to make that mistake again, clearly. And because I have made so many mistakes in the past, it's freezing me from taking any chances for my future because I'm really worried that I'm going to make the same mistakes again. Even though I'm sober, even if I'm in a couple of 12-step programs, even though my mindset has changed, I'm still basing my future on old me, which I know Wayne Dyer and plenty of other people talk about not doing, but easier said than done. So the reason why I really wanted to make this video now without fixing my hair and putting any makeup on and not changing the washing in the background is that I have had an epiphany. And I have a few little epiphanies here and there, but I really want to record this for myself to remind myself and to anybody else that is in the same kind of quandary of not wanting to give up what they have now because they're fearing that they won't get anything better. Yesterday I watched a video on a guy who had a really good job, had 2 really flashy cars, had a really nice house, so way more stuff than I have, and he was always putting off moving to the country, and he had a dog that died within 24 hours, and he finally made the decision to move to the country, but he was really regretting having not done it sooner because Jeff, his dog that died, would have really enjoyed that experience, and obviously him as an owner would have enjoyed watching Jeff run around with his other 2 brothers. Now I also have 3 dogs and I am constantly feeling guilty. They do get to go out, they're not stuck in a flat all the time, for anyone calling RSPCA, but I still do look at them and think I feel so guilty. Like, they're all rescues, so I know I've done a good thing by them just having a nice home to live in and having good food, but I also want to be outside and watching them run around in a yard and just sunbathing on a bale of hay. I know I have this idealistic view of like what living in a rural sunny country is going to look like, but I do watch videos and I do see that to be true for other people. I'm not saying it's a bunch of roses and it's not a hard job living off-grid or in a homestead or just even in another country learning another language. There'll be a new set of problems, but I feel that I'm ready to swap my London problems for new country ones. I just watched a video on 5 years living in rural Portugal. Right at the end, she spoke about having had a good job in the UK, and then she wanted a year off because she was depressed. But basically, the long and short of it is she rented her place out, she bought a van, she travelled for a bit, she realised she didn't want to go back to her old life, so she sold her place and she bought a place in Portugal. And that wasn't the place she stayed. She realised that she wanted to be even ruraler, if that's a word, and she moved to somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And she's super happy. I think she's 60, although she looks about 45, so that must be like living the good life. And she doesn't work. And she said she might have to start working before her pension comes in because she's got another 7 years. But she has no investments. She made like 30 grand from selling one property in Portugal to buying the other one, which I was amazed by as well. And she's just living frugally on her savings, but absolutely loving life. Like, part of the video was her in her little pool, and I was like, I thought at that point of the video she's got loads of pensions coming in, she's got loads of investments, that's why she doesn't have to live, she's been really smart in her earlier life and now she's reaping the benefits. Not at all. She's just living off the savings that she made by downsizing, then buying a home, doing it up a little bit. She didn't even finish the renovations, sold that, and then moved even further inland, which I could easily do. Obviously, it's really, really scary. What if I make a mistake? What if I buy a bomb of a house and then realise that, I have to spend twice as much as I thought renovating it? What if to infinity? But what struck me about her was that she didn't have to have it all figured out, and she doesn't, and she was fine with it. She was realizing that she's happy now, and whatever comes, she'll deal with it when it comes up. And that to me was mind-blowing, because I'm a person that's so scared of making a mistake that I don't do anything, and also wanting to have the next 40 years, hopefully, if I live that long, figured out. And no one can do that with the best planning, because I'm not a fortune teller and I'm not God. No one can plan out their future. And I knew that to an extent, but I thought, yeah, but you're not making a smart financial decision, and all the property investors say don't sell a place, rent it, and then release equity and then buy. I'm not a property developer. And I'm not going to be one anytime soon, because I can't even get a mortgage. I can't even get a buy-to-let mortgage. This isn't a financial decision. This is a changing my life decision. And that's what this woman said in the video, is that she knew she wanted to change her life. I have known for ages that I wanted to change my life. Like, I didn't even want to come back to the UK when I left Australia in the first place. I had to come back because I went to rehab. And I'm very grateful for that, and I'm very grateful that I have family here and that they looked after me, and that the UK NHS is a great service. Say what you like, it's better than a lot of places. And I was able to get well. And then thanks to 12-step recovery and me for all my hard work in doing the steps, I have been able to change. But my mind has changed, but my happiness is the same, if not, well, I don't know if it's worse. It's the same, but I'm not happy. Is all I need to know. I'm not happy. I'm dissatisfied with my life. If I stay on this trajectory, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Never mind live a miserable existence. Like, what's the point of that? I may as well jump off a bridge if it's not going to be a happy life. I'm just existing at the moment. And I don't want to exist. I wouldn't mind private jet and a yacht. If anyone's giving them away, happy to receive. But I would like to feel the sun on my face more than a couple of months out of the year. I would like to live a slower pace of life. I'd like to learn a new language. I feel like such a dumbass not knowing any languages. I would like to experience some new stuff. So I suppose if that's the only thing I get out of selling my flat and moving abroad, then, it was worth it. But I really want to sell my place, buy a van, travel all these countries in Europe that are literally a hop, skip and a jump away, but because I'm so stressed out about work and not having enough money that I can't get to, I want to take my dogs and give them more freedom. And me as well. We all want more freedom. I think everyone in the world wants more freedom. Unfortunately, the way my mind is biologically formed, I can't concentrate for any length of time. I find it very stressful in stressful working environments. I've come to peace with the fact that I couldn't do investment banking. I wish I could, otherwise I would be doing it and earning lots of money. I just would crumble and be even more depressed than I am now. So I have to work with who I am and be honest about who I am and what I'm capable of and what I want in life. And I guess that's what we all need to do, is be realistic about who we are, what we're able to achieve happily, because there's loads of people who can achieve being doctors and lawyers and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't make them happy. And be brave enough to follow your dreams. But yeah, I'm too scared at the moment to do what I know would make me happy, because I'm afraid that I'm going to make a mistake. And that's a really shit way to live. So my point of making this video is that over the last couple of days of obsessively watching YouTube, not that that's anything new, I always obsessively watch YouTube, but for some reason, the videos I watched, one after the other, were reaffirming to me what I needed to do. It's like I was looking for permission, and I think through these videos, these people that I don't even know have given me permission to be able to let go of this property, even though I always said that I'd never sell it because it's my retirement plan, and have a new plan. Take a calculated risk. I'm not just going to sell it and, spunk all the money. This is also for me to look back and remind myself that, on Thursday in November, I was brave enough to say that I'm going to sell it, because literally there's really not another option, but I keep on making up ridiculous scenarios anyway, I won't bore you. That's another video. All right, that's enough ramble. This has made no sense, but it makes sense to me. Thanks for watching. You most probably didn't. I have no followers.